evening, everyone. My name is Anam, and I head marketing for Wedding Wire India. A really warm welcome to all of you for joining us today for this webinar on the future of weddings, the new normal, as all of us are calling it. I have with me Ankur Saraugi, who is the India country head for TKWW. And I'm just going to hand it over to the panelists to actually quickly introduce themselves, and then we move ahead with the discussion. Harsh, do you want to maybe start? Because I can see you first on the grid.
All right. I hope and not any other way. All right. So I am Chef Harsh Shodhan, and I run a boutique catering business in Mumbai. It's called the Gourmet Kitchen and Studio. We strive to glamorize vegetarian food, and we specialize in vegetarian global cuisines, and that's our forte. We cater all around the city, all around the country, as well as internationally. And that's about us. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Harsh. It's a pleasure having you on the panel. Mr. Brijesh from ITC.
Thank you, Anam. Thank you, everyone, for this lovely opportunity. I am Brijesh Sharma. I head sales and marketing for ITC Grand Bharat, which is one of the premium most property in New Delhi capital region. It's a 100-suite property along with 4 villas, so altogether 104 key. And as an ITC hotel, we have a pan-India presence. Our flagship hotels at Maurya, then our huge big hotels in Chennai, Kolkata, Mumbai. And we operate in 4 brands. Basically, it's ITC FX Hotels, which is our premium segment, where we cater our premium brand. Then we have our Welcome Hotels. And we also have a Fortune Hotel as well as Welcome Heritage Hotel. So thank you very much for this lovely opportunity. We will chat and we'll discuss some more opportunities. Thank you very much for this lovely opportunity.
Thank you so much, Brijesh. Moving to Kronali, please.
Yeah. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Kronali. I am the co-founder and the partner at The Wedding Corp. I run this company along with my partner named Danveer Birdi, and we have been in the industry since 2019, and we are specializing into bespoke weddings. We specialize into decor services. We specialize into hospitality and management moreover. So our forte is more over planning destination weddings. The key cities that we have planned is in Mumbai, Delhi, Hyderabad, and now we are shifting to Rajasthan as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Kronali. Great to have you. Megha, over to you, please.
Hi, guys. A very warm welcome to everybody out here. And thank you, Aman. I think it's Aman.
No problem. It's absolutely
having us here. I'm Megha Israni from Israni Photography and Films. I've been running a photography and a filmmaking company for the last 9 years, capturing moments, capturing memories. I think for everyone who works hard for months and months to make a wedding so successful, I think we're the ones who are behind the camera trying to make it a lifelong memory for every client of ours. And here I am looking forward to having a great conversations with all of you guys.
Thank you for joining us, Megha. It's great to have you. Zorain, hi, good evening. So good to see you again.
It's a pleasure for me as well, Anam. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you actually to Ankur and the entire Wedding Wire team. Always, as usual, fabulous at what you'll do. I'm Zorain Khalili and based in Bangalore. I'm the founder of Zorain Studio, and we run, Zorain Studio basically runs a lot of makeup. So we do a lot of makeup for brides and any event and things like that. So yeah, that's what we are at.
Great. Thank you so much, Zorain. And last but not the least, Ankur, if you would please want to just give a quick intro.
Hey, hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our webinar. I'm Ankur. I run the Wedding Wire India business for the Not Worldwide. Wedding Wire is, the Not Worldwide is the global leader in wedding technology. We have presence in 15 countries. Key markets are US, Spain, Italy, and we've spent almost 3 years in India. And we are as excited as we were when we started.
Great. Thank you so much, Ankur. I think I can also see Mr. Praveen. Hi, Praveen. Would you like to just quickly introduce yourself and we are going to start with the webinar now.
Hi, Anam. First of all, I would like to thank Wedding Wire for giving us an opportunity to be present here. to basically to have a discussion or a chat on this topic. To give a brief about me, my name is Praveen, and I have recently moved to Hyatt Regency Lucknow. It's been 5 months. Before this, I was at this beautiful hotel called Andaz Delhi at the Aerocity, which is a premium luxury hotel. Before that, I was part of pre-opening at Conrad Pune. So this has been a brief experience what I have in terms of sales and marketing. About Hyatt Regency Lucknow, we are one of the premier hotel in Lucknow and located at the Gomti Nagar, which is the city center of Lucknow, and where you have all the happenings. Or the you can say it's the area in Lucknow. So that's how, and we are the largest inventory in terms of the rooms and the largest banqueting what exists in Lucknow. So that's where I mentioned we're the premier hotel. We have been very successful in doing weddings in Lucknow. So, and we will definitely talk about it in due course of time. So that's a brief in terms of the inventory: 205 rooms, 4 F&B outlets, and a banqueting space which is around 18,000 square feet overall, divided across the floors and across the venues.
Great. Thank you so much, Praveen. And thank you everyone for introducing yourself. It's again a pleasure to have you all with us today. As we are discussing on our webinar topic for today, which is the future of weddings in the new normal, as we are calling, because COVID is still not over, but it's definitely the new normal that all of us have kind of adjusted to. And it's great to see that weddings are kind of back on track and people are taking all the due precautions and going ahead with it. So I will now be directing the questions to the panelists. Again, just a small request. While the question is directed to probably one person, but please feel free to add your inputs if you have any pointers during the discussion. It's just so that the flow is a little easier, but please feel free. Your inputs are all that really matter to us. So would love to hear your inputs, and especially here because we have panelists from different cities across the country. So hearing what is different in Bombay, Bangalore, Delhi, Lucknow would be really great for us. So my first question is actually directed to all of you, and anyone can please take the lead, is basically what is the common sentiment that we are currently seeing in couples and families these days, right? Are they still planning a big fat Indian wedding, or do we think that they are going to go with the limited guest list that we were seeing in the intimate weddings in the recent months? Anyone who wants to take this forward, please?
I think I can start off with adding to that, because being a bride myself in the making of getting married in the next 45 days, I think the sentiment is very, very different, because since a wedding happens once in a lifetime, yes, COVID has created a panic state. COVID did kind of, up your guards where you didn't want to call too many people. But when you come closer to the date and when you're in that planning process, and if you have the support of the right hotels that you're working with and with the right venues that you're kind of picking onto, the hotels have been very, very supportive in terms of understanding that today in India, weddings happening with 100 people looks extremely, extremely difficult. So people, not on the cards and not to kind of name it somewhere, but people have kind of opened their arms very, very warmly to welcoming larger people. Though the sentiment, even for April, which looks like one of the most heaviest months of the season, people are yet limiting themselves to 150 guests. But I do see a lot of things opening out where people are planning at least a 250, 300 people gatherings are happening. And I think for another few months, I think from 100, we have pushed ourselves to about 200, 250 people, because I think that's a number which looks like a doable number for the long run. Yes, I don't see a lot of 500 and 700 and 1,000 guest list happening. But yes, today we can look at a 250, which is a decent size amount for hotels, because banquets are so large that even there you can maintain your social distancing. So families honestly have let gone. They all want to do it, because I think the last 1 year hasn't given anybody an entertainment to even step out. So I think post February onwards, I see a lot of difference in terms of the inquiries that we've been getting in. I think photography, makeup artists were one of the first few people to get an inquiry, because the brides first want to block their makeup artist and and they are photographers. So I think we have seen some really good inquiries for April and May stepping in, and I think destination weddings in terms of your Udaipur, Jaipur have been, you know, opening their arms a little wider to us.
Absolutely right, Megha. Thank you so much for those inputs. Anyone would like to probably join?
Yeah, I think people are. What the sense I'm getting is people are still confused. They don't know what the government norms are going to be. They can change anytime. You don't know how the flights are going to behave. Secondly, numbers. Now you may want a 200 people wedding or a 150 people wedding, but the 149 people, they don't know whether they want to come to a place which has 200 or 150 people. So that's a bit of a scare. So everybody is on tenterhooks. I'm sitting in Ahmedabad right now, catering to a wedding happening this weekend. It's open grounds, no banquets. They have huge bungalows and huge lawns, and yet they have restricted themselves to about 150 people because of the fact that they are worried that the other guests may not be comfortable in larger crowds. So that's the sentiment we are getting. Bombay, of course, is a different story altogether. We are all within four walls. We are stuck there. Nobody has gardens, or, I mean, we are happy if we have a balcony. So, so that's the sentiment. Most buildings which have large banquets, there are a lot of societies now, buildings in Bombay which have large banquets, their own personal banquets, but they are not allowing outsiders to come. So that's another issue. So we are touching 100, 150 people. And I also see a large generation gap here. So the older generation, they are worried about, pissing off people by not inviting them for their weddings. But the younger generation are very happy having intimate and small weddings where they want to invite only their close people. So for them, it's like a boon come true, where they want their close family and immediate, friends, and not mama ka, chacha ka, bhatija ka, blah, blah, all that long stuff which they don't want to see at the weddings. So for them, it's a boon, I think.
Yes, even I would like to add to this. So basically, the weddings have started becoming slimmer, and people have started focusing towards destination weddings all the more. With the COVID picking up here in Mumbai again in the month of December end, we had these restrictions and the norms coming in where while you're flying back from Rajasthan, Delhi, Gujarat, or Goa, we had to have a set up a COVID desk specifically for other guests. So we had to have them checked before on the prior hand and then get them back to the state in Maharashtra.
Okay. Pranali, actually, in continuation to this particular point that you've just made, so since these government policies was changing quite frequently, like Chef Harsh also just mentioned, did it impact many weddings that you were actually planning? And if yes, how did you go about navigating that situation?
Yes, it did. It did a lot because basically we had a lot of factors to be considered: the logistics, the decor, the other vendors, entertainment artists to be taken care of, and even the guest logistics and their accommodation were to be taken care of. A major problem that we faced was in the month of August, where we had planned a wedding for our client. It was supposed to happen in JW Marriott, and we had given the accommodation, and we had a rotational shift of the guests. And what happened was the restriction came in for 20 people. So we were lucky enough to have a private property of the client, and we shifted everything there at the end moment. But in case if the restrictions would have continued, we would have to reschedule the whole arrangements again. That's where the clients were also getting upset. Also, apart from that, we had to plan everything remotely, sitting over Zoom calls, having late nights, because work from home schedules used to screw up our schedules also. So we had to adjust everything, and working remotely was a major difficult task for us also.
No, you're absolutely right, Pranali. I think my next question is, Praveen, to you. Now that wedding venues, they've been operational for quite a while, and the restrictions have also eased out for the COVID guidelines. What are the additional steps that you've kind of incorporated to make sure that your guests are feeling safe and secure?
Well, I mean, as we know that most of the times, specifically this we have seen with our guests and the patrons who coming into the hotel, they are very particular about the hygiene of the hotel, the kind of the guidelines and the protocols which are being followed by the hotels. So in this case, what we have done specifically is that we started following all the guidelines and the protocols which are rolled over by the ministry and the health affairs. On top of it, Hyatt globally, we have tied up with GBAC. So it's a global association basically which audits the hotels and everybody to make sure that all the global hygienes are also followed for at least the international companies and the chain of the hotels. We started following that from right after the pandemic, once we started opening up, because specific in our situation, we were the hotel was shut for almost 4 months. So that's where we had major challenges. And obviously once the hotel is shut, when you reopen the hotel, you need to make sure that everything is operational, everything is clean, and it's hygienically also up to the mark of the standards. That's one thing what we started following up. On top of it, we started educating our customers as well at the same time, because understanding that you will have various age groups coming in for this kind of weddings or any sort of events wherein you have social gathering happening. So that's where we started mentioning on our contracts as well about the protocol. So guests also start following it from there. And there were a lot of customers who were proactive enough to follow all these guidelines. But at times, being in Lucknow, we had this kind of a challenge wherein we had to educate our customers as well while they were in the lobby for the residential weddings, or while they were in the banquets, that please follow the protocols and the guidelines which are set by the MHA as well as the hotel, and the Hyatt guidelines what we follow across the hotels. On top of it, at the hotels, we started placing the mask at all the guest touch points, as well as we started placing the hand sanitizers at all guest touch points. At the same time, we were following all the protocols in the sense that elevator sanitization was very important for us, because you have a lot of movement happening in the hotel. Specifically in the banquets as well, because with the government we were also confused what needs to be done. Yeah, because the guidelines were changing so often in terms of the gatherings and everything. So we were also very by Hyatt, by GBAC and MHA.
Got it. Great. Thank you so much, Praveen. That is really insightful. Moving on, my next question is to Chef Harsh. So Harsh, in 2020, I think a lot of caterers as well as venues started introducing the concept of plated meals to help guests actually feel safe, right? So rather than the buffet system, many sit-down arrangements actually started picking up. Do you think that this is going to be a trend that will continue, or is buffet system going to kind of make a comeback?
No, of course, buffet is not going anywhere. Even in spite of COVID, I must have done about 15, 20 weddings, as small as 20 people home weddings to as large as 150 at the Oberoi. They were all buffets. Yes, sit-down dinners are another concept altogether. Very, very stylish. Nothing to do with COVID. More expensive, in fact. As I'm sure my fellow hoteliers and F&B personnel will know, a sit-down dinner can get very expensive. The number of people increase. In fact, when you're doing a sit-down dinner, the interaction with your waiting staff is even much more, right? Because every plate is brought to you pre-plated and dished out. So at least in Bombay, I have not seen this plated experience at all. Maybe it's there up north in Delhi, etc. Yes, Bombay does. We did have specific waiting staff at buffet counters, so they are serving you. You are not touching the utensils or the spoons, etc. And that was something that a lot of caterers and hotels were doing. But apart from that, there was no real change or shift in the eating patterns or the serving patterns. Things were just the same, and they wanted us to be more hygienic, which should have been the case in any which ways. I mean, you're supposed to have high standards of hygiene considering the amount of food that you are working with. And waiters were asked to do COVID tests. Chefs and all of us were asked to do regular COVID tests, which we are okay to comply with. So no real great change, and buffets are here to stay forever.
Perfect. Great. Thank you so much, Harsh. Moving further, my next question is Brijesh, to you. On many couples, what we've seen in the recent months, they've actually shared their preference of choosing a venue which is probably on the city outskirts. So while and it's drivable distance to whichever city that they are staying in. How do you think this kind of redefines the concept of destination weddings in India?
Okay, thank you very much. So destination wedding earlier, whenever we talk about destination wedding, it always comes to our mind is that we are going international to some exotic location. But recently the trend has changed, and COVID, when it came in, it has also, emphasized that people, they stay within the country. And what we felt that, a lot of couples as well as family, they wanted to do events at the drivable distance. They don't want to drive much longer. They want to be at the place where they can be in half an hour, 45 minutes at the city outskirts, and they want to have a regal event. In this, if I talk about it, it gave us a great opportunity. ITC Grand Bharat, we are located at around 35 kilometers away from International Airport of Delhi, and around 45 minutes drive time from International Airport, and from Central Delhi, it's around an hour's time. So we got n number of queries, as well as I must say it's a blessing in a disguise. None of the wedding dates were vacant. We were all choco blocked, following the rules and regulations, like November, December, as well as if I talk about January, and going way forward, Feb and March. Again, none of the dates are vacant with us. In fact, I also see a huge demand for Q1, that's April onwards. We see April, we have so many Saya dates, and this time, I think April, May, we got good number of bookings with us for the wedding events. So it's a good sign altogether. And I think Grand Bharat is getting a great benefit in terms of being located very close to Delhi, not too far away. And I think families also, they are preferring to be nearby. And I must touch base, on this point, that not only Grand Bharat, but also our hotels in North, such as Agra, which is ITC Mughal, Rajputana, which is in Jaipur, ITC Rajputana, our Goa hotel, the Grand Goa, they have done phenomenally well in terms of event. I think our safety and security program, We Assure, which we have launched, has been widely accepted by people, and our brand promise to give everyone a safe place, I think that has worked very well for us here in the North. And it's working very well, and I can see a huge demand, and even the families, they are more keen to come to the drivable distance, as well as, we are one of the premium most product in NCR. It's one of a kind hotel, all suite concept, which we launched. It's working very well with us.
Great. Thank you, Brijesh. Moving on, my next question is, Ankur, to you. In terms of when we compare to the last year, do you predict a growth in the number of queries and demand from the consumers now that the COVID restrictions have eased out? How do you see business growing and happening this year?
So the interesting part about what COVID has done. So, fundamentally, how we look at our businesses, between the ROCA / engagement date to wedding in general is like a 6-month window in India. And a lot of people who had to get married during COVID times, all of them are getting married now because people don't want to extend, push weddings so far in ahead. Now, what unfortunately happened is there was a 6-month dull period when no ROCA or engagement happened, because of restrictions and everything. So I think what has happened is almost 50% of weddings that was supposed to happen between October to March this year are going to get shifted, into next year. Now, some indicators that we will have is once the first 100 million people in India will get vaccinated, when schools will reopen, when offices will start opening back, wedding demand will come back. But the it's it's going to be difficult, because I think what is going to happen is this 50% people who could not get married will suddenly start planning their wedding. So our expectation is this demand will spread over the next 3 to 4 years. So if every year, if the audience that we cater to, the digital audience, which we predict is roughly 1.5 to 2 million users, weddings in India, this will grow. Instead of say 4 to 5% a year, it might just grow at 20-25% for the next 3 years. So a lot of queries should happen, and I think these are few more indicators. So as soon as the vaccine is out, our traffic has gone up, more people have started to think about wedding. I think once 100 million people get vaccinated, that will be the second indicator. And then schools reopening, we think, is going to be one biggest move where people will say now everything is normal. So I think these are indicators that we are tracking. It looks like it can be July or September when we would see traffic coming back on our platforms, and hopefully 20 to 25% more weddings every year. So yeah, there is going to be inventory restriction with our partners and all of that. So we also are forecasting that a lot of people will start getting married on the non-Sire dates, especially in the metro cities, because there will be a demand supply mismatch that may happen.
Thank you, Ankur. That's actually really right in terms of people looking for dates which are not just Muhurat dates, but even other dates that are suitable in terms of venues being available, it being a little more easier for people to plan. So we will definitely be seeing a lot more numbers going up. Great. My next question, Megha, is directed to you. It's actually in continuation to the destination wedding part that you were mentioning earlier. So I think in between there was a little bit of a low period for pre-wedding shoots because of the obvious reasons. But with destination weddings again on the rise, do you think that there's going to be a comeback of the pre-wedding shoots? And are couples kind of prioritizing this and want it added to the overall packages that they are asking for now for this year?
So I'll tell you, when COVID really hit us and when people started doing intimate weddings, pre-weddings was not a priority at all. It was not even on their minds. But in the month of December and November, we landed up doing about 12 to 14 pre-weddings, which we thought was a really, really high number. Obviously, we didn't land up doing the kind of pre-weddings that we would specialize doing. We like traveling to outdoor, really far off locations. We've done pre-weddings at Budapest, at Dubai, Thailand. These are your most prominent asked for pre-wedding locations. There was a huge panic with also not traveling to Udaipur and Jaipur because of, there were times when suddenly these places just saw a spike in the COVID cases. But we did see a lot of pre-weddings moving to Goa because Goa has been open since quite some time right now. So people's priorities in terms of pre-weddings haven't really died off. People yet fancy the fact of it, whether you make them do a half a day or a 1 day. We've done a lot of pre-weddings in Lonavala, which earlier wasn't the case. So I think the whole perspective of doing pre-weddings first, the larger than life way, did move on to doing very, very realistic stuff, very, very candid stuff. We have a destination like a studio in Surat. We saw a lot of that studio wasn't available for 2 months, for us to book. So a lot of studio pre-wedding started happening. So the concept and the mindset did change, where people wanted to do smaller team sizes, where they didn't want to carry 5 people. They wanted to do it in 3 people, and they just wanted the boy and the girl. So people have done pre-weddings, but I think the perspectives have changed. It's more become about doing, very realistic, very candid. We've had couples who've done COVID stuff because they've actually spent their lockdowns on phones. We've had a couple who got married, who just got engaged in Feb. They were supposed to get married in November. Their entire courtship has gone on the phones and FaceTime, and so we've actually recreated a lot of stuff that people have landed up doing in the houses. And people have also realized that now it's not about the larger than life. It's more about doing things which are more closer to your heart. So I think I think I'm really enjoying this perspective because it helps us do a lot of different stuff with our couples, which earlier people just wanted to go to their villas, do a fancy pre-wedding and utilize the location. Now people are looking deeper within what is it that they enjoy doing more. So I quite like that perspective to pre-weddings. But pre-weddings are here to stay. Like I think Chef also said that, like the buffets are never going to go away. I don't think pre-weddings are ever going to go away. We've also done a lot of home pre-weddings where, we've just sent a photographer home and they've captured themselves just in their pajamas, Netflix, because a lot of couples realized that, Netflix, cooking at home became a part of their daily routine. So we've actually incorporated those kind of aspects also. I think pre-weddings are here to stay. It's just that the mindset, people will not travel abroad for a pre-wedding for quite some time right now. But once I think the laws gets lifted and, we'll be back on track in terms of traveling all over. And it's great because we've got to explore places in India, which we wouldn't have ever explored earlier. Like we've done a couple's pre-wedding in Mussoorie. We've done Manali this season, which earlier wouldn't have ever been the case. People would have spent that kind of same money on going to Dubai or going to a Thailand. But now people are investing the same kind of money doing pre-weddings in Manali, Mussoorie. We've done a lot of we've done 2 pre-weddings at Kutch also, so people are looking at doing a more of these road trip kind of stuff and doing more pre-weddings.
Great. Thank you so much, Megha. That's really insightful. And I think you're really reminding of another discussion that we had in one of the webinars that we did during COVID, where we had the same pointer that people are really trying to capture those moments and those emotions rather than going for larger than life things, because you're just really appreciating those closer relations and things that you're able to enjoy.
I think also the way weddings have changed now, where it's become more experiential than kind of wanting to show off to the world that, hey, I can do this or I can bring in this artist, right? So I think also, like someone else pointed out, that the younger generation is loving the fact of having intimate guests and having lesser number of people, because what I really realize is that you can focus more on giving people an experience rather than having 1,000 people at your wedding and you're not realizing what's happening around you. So I think weddings from the larger than life have just moved its shift to being more experiential.
Perfect. Great. Thank you so much, Megha. Moving further, my next question is to Zuren. Zuren, now that the guest lists are also kind of going back to the normal earlier numbers, maybe not to the 500s and the thousands, but still growing from what they were. Are you also getting service requests for the bride and groom's family, extended families for that matter? Also, how are you maintaining hygiene when you're getting multiple requests in such cases of the weddings?
Great, Anam. So the biggest thing I'd like to start with is the hygiene part of it. That's one thing that we need to understand, Anam, that irrespective COVID, no COVID, when it comes to makeup, I think it's something that's very important because it's too close to the skin. Hygiene is our top priority in this industry. And I think everybody, like pre-COVID, also was following a lot of norms. In terms of a little bit more on the hygiene bit, we're still obviously going that extra step that we always did. We don't take off our masks even now. We sanitize all our products, depot the products. Even a lot of the metal stuff is all, UV ray sanitized. So it's really, really something that's on our top priority as always. When it comes to the family and extended family, I think good news for the people from the makeup industry is the fact that they have a little bit more budget, because obviously the number of people are lesser and everyone knows that the camera is going to focus on them more. So the family is now getting more, prepped and ready. A lot of the cousins of friends, everyone now wants a little bit more makeup, because obviously most of them, they're wearing masks. So a lot of them know that it's just going to be the eyes and things like that. So the demand has definitely grown in terms of the family members as well getting ready for the events. So yes, and it's back again, grooms, everyone are very particular now that they have some makeup on, because a lot of it is online. So sometimes what happens is a lot of their friends are watching them through, these online platforms for the weddings and things like that. So they realize that camera is unforgiving. Makeup can save a little bit. So a lot of them are actually focusing on makeup. So it's great.
That's really true. No matter what size of the wedding, your face is still going to be visible. So you might as well make it while it's worth it.
True.
Perfect. Moving further, my next question is Krunali to you. So while in 2020 we saw that many of these intimate weddings were actually celebrated without the elderly or the kids in the family, mainly keeping their safety in mind. Um, do you think and there were a lot of these multi-event weddings, or as we were calling them, shift weddings, that were happening now in 2020? Do you still think that this format is going to continue, where people were having separate guest lists for different events and keep this smaller guest list in mind, or they are going to kind of go back to the earlier guest list of inviting everyone for all the events that are being planned?
Indian weddings are all about celebrating an exception to making an exception to the senior citizen and the kids is something that was staying in the 2020. With the news of vaccine coming in and vaccine moving ahead, we have actually been seeing that, the family members have started including the elderly members. At least the immediate family members have started including their grandparents, the nana, nannies, all of these people have started coming in. And once the vaccine drive becomes more positive and it moves forward, we are seeing that definitely these elderly people will be invited again. So definitely the couples have started keeping the safety measures in their mind and then calling these elderly members and the kids. But we are seeing a positive attitude towards, a bigger guest list towards the November and the December season as compared to the April and the May. We are seeing a limited guest list coming in. Again, the shift and the rotational based list, guest list coming in during the April and the May weddings, but we are seeing a larger picture in November and December weddings.
Great. That's really good to know. So I think it's just a matter of time, and people are definitely having a really positive sentiment with the.
Yes. So it's in fact the people have started accepting this. The COVID is here to stay. It's gonna definitely take a while. So everyone is taking their measures, precautionary measures, and then they are moving ahead.
Right, exactly. Like we are calling it the new normal, that this is how everyone is trying to adjust to it. Great. Thank you so much for input, Krunali. I have one of the questions that have actually come in, and Brijesh, you or Praveen can please actually help us with your expert inputs here. Is that did you guys kind of change or relax the cancellation policies which were existing for venues, considering that the state policies or there can be other unforeseen government policies that might come in between? Would you like to just share some inputs on that, please?
Yes, so I'll take this question, Anam. So yes, I mean, we had this kind of a situation wherein, I mean, right before the day of the wedding, like just 2 days before the wedding, we got a call from one of the guests wherein he mentioned that a couple of members in his family have been COVID positive, and they were coming all the way from Delhi to Lucknow to conduct the wedding. And in those kind of a situation, I mean, the guest was like, you do something for us, and because this is a special moment for us, wherein we don't really want to we don't really want to cancel it, but this is a kind of a situation wherein we can't do much about it also. So in those situations, yes, I mean, at least we being Hyatt, because Hyatt comes with the brand name, so I mean, we don't really want to upset any of the guests and the loyal customers. So that's where, on case-to-case basis, I would say that we were flexible enough that that we would adjust the cancellation. We'll adjust the whatever advance payment they had done, or the deposits what they had made to confirm their groups or the weddings. In occasions, we had refunded at times as well, wherein we seriously felt that they will not be able to do the wedding in the hotel because of these unforeseen situation of the conditions. But at the same time, I mean, guests also understood on the other hand, and I mean, couple of guests they mentioned that don't really cancel our event, but we will try and adjust whatever advances we have paid for our future events. So it was from the customers as well as from the hotels, and wherein how much flexibility we can show, and they can also show the flexibility towards the hotel as well, because I mean, customers also, they are here for an existence. This is not the only event, or no, or the only wedding which they'll do. I understand that wedding in one family might be one, but I mean, they have so many relatives. At least, I mean, you talk about the communities like the Marwadi community, or the I mean, the communities here in Lucknow. So yes, I mean, we were flexible enough wherein we refunded for the cancelled events, or we adjusted for some of our reservations for the future bookings. And surprisingly, those guests definitely came back. I mean, we had situation wherein the cancellation happened, and those guests returned back once the situation were a little better than their houses or in their families. So they came back, they did the events, and they left happy, and they also felt that, okay, I mean, they made a right decision of choosing Hyatt, because we were flexible enough to accommodate their request in these tough times.
Great. Thank you so much, Praveen. I think you're absolutely right that it's actually a two-way road. You
Yeah.
adjusted for the requests that the customers had, and they obviously came back to you because they knew that there was a certain experience that they'll be getting. Perfect. Moving further, my next question is, Ankur, to you. In terms of what is the role of digitalization in wedding planning right now, and how do you think this is going to get implemented across various touch points in the wedding planning process?
Great. So that's a fantastic question. So I think, when we started our business in India, we expected, technology to really impact, over like 8 to 10 years, when it becomes part of everyone's business on our marketplace, for example, for a photographer, makeup artist, for venues, as well as like every consumer in India starts using digital platform to find the wedding. Now, why we believe in this? Because we have seen like similar marketplaces, say a Zomato, or even like Paytm now being used at every point. In general, the cycle is 7 to 10 years for businesses to adopt and on the consumer side to adopt. Now, what COVID has done is like it has accelerated that growth, because a lot of people were forced to use digital platforms, be it like Zoom calls or WhatsApp video call, or even like platform like ours, to actually discover. Like there was no way you can go out and do Reiki in like 10 venues to figure out which venue you want to book. So you would first want to go digital and see whether this venue has what feature it has, and maybe sometimes do a video call with the venue manager just to see the venue. I think photo and makeup has already gone digital, because there's a lot of exchange of images that already happen before anyone can finalize, or Instagram, and or a platform like ours has almost solved it. But like specifically for venue, it has helped us. So I think digitization is a tool, it's not a competition. So it's going to help everyone to do faster and make every business more efficient. But we believe the efficiency will reach in like 5 years instead of like 10 that we planned earlier. So yeah, definitely, in every aspect of our business, we have seen growth, over the last few years, last few months.
Great. That's really good to know, Ankur. And definitely digital is the way forward, and COVID has actually fast tracked that. We've really seen. I think it was surprising to see even senior people being so comfortable ordering from an Amazon or a Big Basket, because that was the only option. Definitely the wedding industry is going to be seeing this trend also picking up. My next question is to Chef. Considering, like you were also saying, with regards to many people looking for intimate weddings, or maybe say more customized smaller weddings, how do you think this has impacted catering overall? And what kind of impact has it had on the packages for catering that you were providing from earlier to probably now, and anything that you specifically feel coming up for 2020?
So I think this has
Sorry,
been a
2021.
this has been a double-edged sword, where people took this as an excuse to downsize their weddings. Of course, huge economic strain as well. But they said, "Chalo, I can do something in 50 people. Let me finish it off. I'm saving costs for 450 people," and they were happy doing it. And they, I think, fast-tracked those weddings. On the other side, some people thought, "Okay, since I'm downsizing it to 150 people, let me make it as lavish as possible, as glamorous as let's roll out the red carpet and give those 150 people a really great food experience." And so we've seen both. We've seen people really being stingy on their costs, and we've seen people really go all out and say, we just want to go the whole hog. So and again, I don't see this going to be a large influencing factor once COVID is down and out. Things will go back. Those who will want to spend will spend. Those who want to save will save. Those who want to cringe on their pennies, they will do it. So it's all just a matter of time, and things will come back to normal. COVID is here to stay, but we will get some remedy. I mean, humans are very, very perseverant. We will find something, we will find a way out, and we will get over it. We've seen it happen in the past, and we will see it happen this time as well. So it is just adjusting to what is so, I feel.
Thank you so much for those inputs, Harsh. You're right. Many people did enjoy the intimate wedding part of it and did go all out in terms of customization. Like Megha, I think also was mentioning that it's about the experience that they are able to provide. And they went all out and did it for their special guests. So yeah, I think it's ultimately on the final choice of what the couple wants to push.
Anam, also sorry to interrupt, but this has shown us, this has brought us to ground. This has grounded everybody, I think, right? All those people rushing away to Budapest and all these fancy places have now started realizing there's so much beauty in and around us. Why not go to a Manali or a Himachal or an Udaipur, and there is so much to see there. There's enough. Why do you want to call fancy chefs from Mongolia and Hungary and wherever else is to call from when there is so much talent available in the country? And I think this has really brought us back to earth. I think this was badly needed, some kind of a shake-up.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Chef, that you're making, that it's really made us explore avenues and options that were around us, but we probably did not really look at them in that manner. And like Ankur was also saying, that it's forced people to look at digital in a manner that they probably did not because there were other options. So really hoping that things are only going to move in the positive direction from here onwards. My next question, Zoren, is to you. In terms of tailoring the packages that you provide your clients to kind of suit their needs, and also kind of customizing costs as per the deliverables which are requested, do you think are you seeing any stark changes that are kind of picking up over the past few months or in the coming months, whatever bookings that you might be having?
Anam, basically what we saw last year, especially from down south at least, is the number of events had increased. So the customer, like obviously the bride and groom wanted to have all their events. So the number of events increased. Therefore, we had to customize packages because their spending also increased. So the number of events increased, causes them a large amount especially on the budgets when it comes to makeup. So we had to customize that. But now I think the people are getting more braver. The number of events, like from being spread out, are now coming back to their concise size. And they are also now showing us a trend of not, wanting to, bargain, if I may say, like before, on the rates and things like that. Now they're open to, having the, just give us our due for whatever it is, number of events coming down. I think it's just become a positive trend now. It seems to be getting back to normal most often. The other thing that I'd like to add also is the fact that pre-prep, what we did in the industry, I think a lot of us from the industry knew that we're going to have a lot of multiple dates that are going to come up, overlapping each other. So we had to actually get our forces of numbers of artists larger. And this helped us actually suit different people's packages. So, they could choose from a large range of people. So they didn't have to hire the main artist or anything. They could choose from a senior artist or, a mid-level artist. So therefore, the packages were much more thing. I think that trend will continue, because we've already increased the number of our teams. So I think it's just going to continue with the fact that we'd be able to cater to people even with smaller budgets or larger budgets. I think somewhere down the line, COVID did change a little bit of a trend and help us as well.
Great. Thank you, Zoren. To all the participants who we have on the webinar with us, please feel free to send any questions that you might want to ask any of our panelists. We have around 10 more minutes while I'm just finishing the last few questions.
I just have one question. So Megha, can you share something on like, the photography packages and like, how does pricing change for you guys? Because now I think you need to shoot less number of pictures compared to like earlier.
So
I don't know that.
honestly, our work hasn't reduced. For a lot of people have now had this new terminology with saying what's the COVID discount. But honestly, if you really go to see, our work has quite a bit increased, because in terms of the output is yet the same, and I'm sure even the catering and the chefs would realize that the effort on servicing the client is yet the same. Having said that, yes, our team size has decreased down quite a bit. Like first we used to do weddings with 3 and 4 and 5 photographers. Today we're doing weddings with 2 photographers at an event. 2 and 3 at the max is what we're looking at doing events at. But my end product, which is a short film to the client, which is the editing process to the client, which is our full film to the client, that hasn't changed. So people are expecting like a 50% drop in terms of the pricing, but no one is expecting that, my work, even if like in my post production, is yet the same. It yet takes us about 7 to 8 days to make a short film for the client. It yet takes us about 40 days to make a full film for the client, irrespective that your rituals haven't changed, your customs haven't changed. People are not saying ki hum milni nahi karenge because hum 50 log hai. So your things are yet happening. There's yet at any given point at a wedding, there's a bride getting ready, there's a groom getting ready, there's a barat happening, and there's a milni happening. So you really cannot work with a very concise team, because in that bargain, then you land up losing out on more moments, and then you land up on squeezing the creativity of a product. But yes, we have reduced down our profit margins, is something that I would say that we as a company, because I have an in-house team, and I decided that we've not even thrown anybody out, and we wanted to kind of sail through. So yes, we have compromised on our profit margins, but we really haven't gone substantially down in terms of, it's not something that was first available at 10 lakhs. Today it's available at 5 lakhs. No, that hasn't really happened, because your end consumption is yet the same. And the focus on photography has rather increased, because today people have lesser guests to attend to. So everybody is wanting to have a photographer around them. Families are giving 45 minutes to a bride and to the photographer to actually click pictures. If you rather go to see our effort on the client and the creativity, because you don't have larger than life decor setups, you don't have drones getting flown here and there, you don't have fancy entries happening. So the creativity on the product has rather increased way more than earlier, and people are actually paying attention to this factor more. And I think people are also looking at this as a better investment right now. So we've had clients who first said, okay, now I cannot wear a Manish Malhotra, now let me at least spend better on photography. So if you really see like today a location like a bride who would have a budget to do for say a 10 CR wedding, and say wanting to do a smaller team of photography, today they're really investing well on photography. So we also have seen that mindset where you're not doing a little larger on the number of people. So say your per plate cost on people would have been 500 earlier, now you're only calling 200 people. So you're taking that pool of money and you're saying, you know what, let's invest in a better photography team. So I think that's where the shift has really come across. But budgets have gone down. But I said budgets have gone down. Like I would not want to say that no, we've stuck to the same pricing. No, we've gone substantially down, rather than every year we see a growth by at least a 10%, if not more. But I would say there's at least been a 30% drop down in the kind of costings that we're looking at.
I think so. In the F&B, still things have gone up higher because manpower is difficult to get by.
Right.
Cost of ingredients have increased, and I haven't reduced a single rupee on any of my packages. In fact, I've increased my prices.
Because the effort is far more, right?
Effort part is more.
Less number of people, so obviously
more detail, more. You're doing more of smaller events and bigger headaches. The headache remains the same. Dealing with the same clients, dealing with the same kind of people, the same kit. And so why not go ahead and charge? And those who want to pay will pay, and those who don't will always find somebody else.
True.
Actually, Ankur, to add to what Megha is saying, I think the photographer's role has increased a lot because it's a surprising and it's a cute trend where, like we were talking about the extended family doing more makeup now. I've seen actually a lot of the mothers living their dreams now through these weddings. and they tend to get dressed earlier than the bride, go for a photo shoot. So it's actually very sweet, but I think for, like Megha was saying, they expect more focus on each person now. And I think the photographers are definitely doing way more than they, would normally do. So great job, Megha.
Thank you.
That's a great piece of trend that probably might be picking up, where the parents also have that much of free time to get the focus on themselves, parents, siblings, and great, Megha. We'll be looking for more pictures where you capture more such intimate moments. We would love to share them further on the platform. Perfect. My last couple of questions are around the venue. So Brijesh, to you and to Praveen. So Brijesh, considering the recent changes, what are some of the technological advances that venues have kind of implemented for weddings post the pandemic? Would you like to share some inputs on that, please?
Sure. So, see, technology plays a very important and vital role to get people into the hotel and then also to serve them, because as an ITC hotel, safety is top paramount for us. Safety and security for the guest as well as for our own staff. And technology has really given a lot of edge, like you see nowadays the usage of auto-censored dispensers, sanitizers, as well as we have a sensor-based elevators where you don't have to touch anything, you are standing in front of it, whichever floor you want to go, you just give an impression in front of that number and you are taken to that floor. Plus directions, so a lot of things, technology we have implemented. In fact, not only in wedding, but in normal hotel operations, the implementation of technology has really helped us in this pandemic time. As a hotel, we have taken all steps, like we do all pre-check-in formalities. When you arrive, just a touch button and you are checked in. Everywhere you will find QR codes, the facilities about the hotel. In the restaurants, you find the QR codes where you have a digital menus. You don't have to scroll through the pages, the hard copy pages. You see menu and everything through digital QR codes. And also a few steps which we implemented, like Chef was talking about buffet. As a hotel, we have taken a very niche step of putting an armored in front of the buffet, because buffet will continue. Buffet will go on in weddings and social celebrations. So we decided to put an armored buffet where, there is a shield in front of buffet and our associates standing behind the buffet and serving the guest. So we have taken all precautions, all measures to minimize the growth of this infection. And we have successfully done also. And I'm really thankful to your team for, even giving this opportunity. And if I talk about technology, the Wedding Wire, they produce a technology where they connect us with the guest whom we don't know, and they are brought to the hotel, and then we close the deals. And we have done many closures for many events, and I'm thankful to your team.
That's really good to hear, and we hope that we continue working together and you get many more guests who are coming to your property through us. One more question as a follow-up to what you were telling, Brijesh. With these particular technological advances that you're talking about, what has been the impact on revenue per event? Because this is definitely additional stuff that you have done.
See, what we have done, because number of people were restricted by the government initially in Haryana, and then later it was a bit relaxed, and we were allowed to do an event of around 200 guests also. So indoors, the limitations was for the 100 guests, and outdoors we were allowed to do up to 200. And we had huge lawns, which is our specialty, So it has, in terms of revenue, if I talk about, yes, it has impacted the revenue, but we have strategically, not making our prices very high, but a reasonable hike on the prices. And we have managed to capture, because it was pretty high demand, and higher the demand, higher the rates. So we have done very well in terms of revenue. If I talk about statistics, I'm almost in part to the normal situation when the hotel was last year in a normal situation. I'm almost doing the similar revenues. So God has been really kind with us, and it has really helped us. I think people have a lot of confidence in our safety and security program. Our team, they deliver an excellence, and it has worked very well. We were very cautious because we can't afford to go low on revenues because cost of operation has gone up. And trust me, when we ensure safety and security measures, and once we are doing things for our guests and for our associate, it increases a huge cost. So we were very clear that we are not going to dilute our rates. However, we were very judicious. We haven't increased it also in a big number, but yes, in a statistical way, I am almost close to the number what I delivered in the normal situation when hotel was without this pandemic.
Great. That's really good to hear. Thank you so much, Brijesh. Thanks, Chef Harsh. Actually, he had to rush for another event. I couldn't thank him here, but it was really great to have him here with us. We are on our last question. So, Praveen, this question is to you. Praveen, yeah, okay, great. I can see you. So, since we have a lot of couples and their families again who have trimmed down their guest list, how do you think it has impacted the pricing for venues overall? Again, while we discussed about pricing and Brijesh also added, I would really love to know your point of view. And do you think that there are certain pricing trends specifically for venues that might arise from here?
Yes, I mean, as mentioned by Brijesh, that I mean, cost has or the prices have been very, I mean, meticulously taken into consideration when people are booking their weddings or their events. At Lucknow, what we have seen primarily at our hotel is that I mean, knowing that the number of packs will reduce. I mean, at one point of time when we used to cater at one venue about 350 to 400 people, the number is reduced to 100 initially when we reopened the hotel. But the operational cost, the manpower, everything remains the same. So what we decided during that time is that rather than doing a per person rate, we would do a minimum revenue. Wherein, let's say, if they have an event of 75 to 100 people, we will give them X rate. Wherein if they have 90 plates or 100 plates, they don't really have to bother about number of plates or number of packs in those cases. Later on, when the same, I mean, the restriction increased to 200 people, that's when we decided that okay, this is the time wherein we can think of increasing prices a little bit, because we are taking all the precautions. We are making sure that guests feel that they are at a safe and a secure place for their entire wedding. And the same was communicated to guests, and they happily accepted it. So I mean, you will not believe. I mean, over last year in 2019, if we used to do, I mean, on an average, the APC, what we call it, average per cover, it used to be about 1750 to 1800 rupees in the city. This year, that saw an increase of around 250 to 300 rupees per person. So the APCs have gone high in the city. In fact, specifically during the October, November, and December, these 3 months, because I mean, the weddings in terms of numbers were very high. The auspicious dates were very less, and all the venues primarily were already booked. So that was it was an opportunity as well, wherein we could do something extra for the guest. So in those cases, we went ahead and we increased their buffet at times. We increased their light counters, or I mean, wherever the guest was asking for something special, we said, okay, we will go ahead and do this for you. However, this will come at an X price, which is going to be higher than the last year or the previous events what you have done. So that saw overall profitability of the venues increasing from 8 to 9% over last year. So I mean, on an average, if you used to do about 62% profitability of the venues, this year in 2020, what we concluded, that increased to about 70 to 71%, which was, I mean, the another reason was that obviously the number of people was less, and the auspicious dates were also very limited, and we were trying to make sure whatever we could earn after the reopening of the hotel, we could do that. And I mean, by doing the minimum revenue per event, we were successful enough to be the pilot hotel in the city, and all the hotels, they started following Hyatt Regency Lucknow in this. They also said, okay, we will go ahead and do the minimum revenue per event rather than doing the per person rate or per plate rate. So that was, in a way, was a boost. But yeah, I mean, at the same time, January and the February is not so good in terms of I mean, following those trends what we were doing in 2020. But yes, I mean, April and May is looking very healthy. So we are again trying to do the similar things. And the good part, at least in April and May, people are coming up with the request wherein they want to have the events for 300, 350 people events as well. Yeah, so that is a positive sign, because people were hesitant. People were, they had the fear of the COVID. So slowly with the vaccine coming into the picture, though it may not be reachable so soon, but they at least have the confidence. Okay, something is there for us.
Yeah, I think what you are saying definitely makes sense, that with the vaccine, people are definitely looking positively in that direction. Okay, Praveen, thank you so much for those inputs. Those were like really helpful for us. I would like to thank all the panelists once again for joining us today. I hope everyone who joined us for the webinar today did get some really interesting inputs.